video, or if you miss a part of the story, sorry, I'm already scrambled, and it don't mess me up, okay? If you miss a part of the story, then none of it's gonna make sense, so you need to stay laser focused the entire time, okay? Stay laser focused, because I don't want to keep repeating myself, and I don't want to explain things that I've already said, okay? So I need you to stay laser focused the entire time. Good? Okay, good. That's great. Now that we're on the same page, and you aren't gonna lose your focus at all throughout this entire story. Anyway, it all starts at the zoo, okay? I was at the zoo, okay? And, I was just, doing what you do at the zoo. I was going through the enclosures, saying hi to all the animals. They had like gorillas and like zebras and stuff. It was pretty cool. Zoos are pretty cool. But all of a sudden, there's this big commotion happening, all over the place. It starts over there, but then like people are screaming and running all over the place, and they're kind of coming my way, and I'm not really sure what's happening. I'm not really sure what's happening. And so like, at first, you get that like immediate sense of like fear, a little bit, and you get that like immediate little sense of fear. But I wasn't like fully afraid yet, because I didn't even know, I don't even know what to be afraid of, because of you. We were all running from the animals, and I'm like, how did they get out? People didn't really understand, but nobody wants to get caught by a gorilla. Those things are huge. They're like 6 times stronger than like a human being. So like, yeah, obviously we're all gonna run from the gorilla. And there were other animals too, but I was probably personally most fearful of the gorilla personally, because gorillas are just they're huge. And there's like a human element to a gorilla, because like, they say we descended from the apes. Technically, I think it was more like the chimpanzee, but the gorillas are part of like that family of animal, right? So like, and humans are pretty fucked up, right? And they're pretty messed up. They do some pretty evil things, and so like, I feel like if any of the animals are gonna do something, something particularly like evil on purpose, or just for the sake of doing something evil, then it's probably gonna be and it's not gonna be, and so I'm trying to do that, and I hate to ruin the story, but like I'm here right now, right? So like, obviously I made it out, but it gets crazier. Okay, just I'm not proud of some of the things I had to do to get out of there alive. Okay, so just I took that stroller with that kid in it right at the gorilla. I'm lucky it worked. I'm lucky it worked, but I'm gonna have to live with that. And it's like, but okay, so we were all there down in the basement, down in like the janitorial like section. There were a bunch of cleaning supplies and everything. We were all hunkered down. There were like, I don't know, probably like 50 of us in there. We were all trying to be as quiet as possible. There were like a few babies babies that were like crying, but their parents were like covering their mouths, so they couldn't actually like cry, but you could tell that they were crying. It was a pretty serious, moment. It was pretty intense, right? It was pretty intense. It was pretty intense. It was intense. It was intense, but we were all there. There were like dripping pipes. It was very atmospheric. It was very ambient, right? It was very, it was very visceral. It was a visceral experience, okay? And, we could hear the thumping of all the animals upstairs looking for us, because, there's something about animals. They have like the sixth sense, they got a good sense of smell. They've got a good sense of hearing, better than humans and whatnot. So I think they knew that we hadn't left the zoo yet. I think they knew we hadn't left the zoo. And so they were all looking for us still, but they weren't exactly sure where we were, but they were honing in, they were getting closer and closer with each passing moment, so we couldn't stick around forever, but we were all just, all silently, just sitting there kind of, catching our breath. We had just run a significant, distance from these animals. It takes a toll on the human body to run that long. I mean, this was a big zoo. I mean, we ran from like one end of the zoo to the other end of the zoo, and this was a big zoo. It's the biggest zoo in the world, okay? It was the Cincinnati Zoo. It was the Cincinnati Zoo. I don't know if that's the biggest zoo in the world, but it's a pretty big zoo. Anyway. It's like self-preservation is it takes over, right? So you don't really make, the most generous decisions. It's all about yourself. And don't listen to that car, 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 okay? And like, and all of a sudden, who do I see that barges into the room, except for the family of the stroller that I had thrown at the gorilla? Listen. I didn't know that there was a kid in the stroller, okay? I saw a stroller. I saw a gorilla chasing me. He was gaining on me. He was gonna start pulverizing me, okay? I had to do something. I took the stroller and I threw it at him. Okay, look. Like I said, I didn't know there was a kid in the stroller, okay? It's not my problem. It's not my fault, okay? I'm sorry. But then they come down and they're making a big deal. That was my kid. That was my kid. So suddenly all the eyes are on me, right? Like a big, and I've got a few people on my side, but it seems like most people, like, they don't want to be, associated with the guy that threw a stroller with a kid at a gorilla, like, okay, suddenly I'm this big terrible guy, like, okay, I'm sorry, okay? How many times do I have to say I'm sorry? It's just, when you're presented with a situation like that, like, what are you supposed to do? Are you not supposed to throw the stroller at the gorilla? Like, come on. I feel like any logical person would have done the same thing in that situation. But no, apparently not. And then, it's just, I'm just like, what? And like, I'm, it's just like, okay, I don't, that's cool. And then, so yeah, it's whatever. It's like whatever. Okay, so they're all doing their own thing. They're like, okay, guys, we can make a plan, but we don't want him to be a part of it because we can't trust him because he's gonna throw us under the bus first chance he gets. And maybe that's true, but I mean, they'd all be lying if they were, trying to pretend like they wouldn't do that to everyone too. So I felt a little, singled out a little bit. I'll not lie, but it was cool if they didn't want to include me. That's fine. It's their plan. They can do whatever start to try to escape and do anything, they're going to make a ton of noise, and I feel like, that could be a good opportunity to escape myself. I just have to think about how to use that to my advantage, right? So I was thinking, like, do I try to make it out? Do I start making my move before they make theirs, or should I make my move after they make theirs, or kind of like during? But I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, if I wait until like during they're making their move, then like it kind of just makes me a part of their plan, a part of their noise, right? So I figured I gotta make my move first. I gotta get out of the janitorial basement with all the cleaning supplies, and I gotta get out of there before they start making all their noise. I'm the one that threw the stroller at the gorilla. Like, what do I care? I'm like trying to, and then like I see like a pride of lions moving around. So I'm trying to stay low. Hopefully they don't see me, right? But they're pretty good hunters, that's what they're made for. I get really lucky here, though. I feel like a big part of surviving in situations like this is luck. It just kind of comes down to random chance. At the end of the day, don't listen to that car. Don't listen to that car. Don't listen to that car. At the end of the day, there's certain things that you can do to improve your odds, but at the end of the day, you're always fighting against just random chance. And so I got really lucky here. I did. Right as they start to turn and look at me, everyone starts making their move, right? Making a bunch of noise. They charge out. They're always shouting like, yeah, like they're fighting in a big battle. And I was like, what is their plan? I hadn't been listening to their plan the whole time. I just figured they were going to make a lot of noise simply because it's a big group of people. But no, apparently their plan was to like charge at the animals, like, it's the fucking last crusade or some shit, I don't look at me. It wasn't my fucking plan. I don't know what the fuck they were doing. But bad plan. Really bad plan. I guess they thought that maybe they could like intimidate the animals into, not attacking them. But if anything, I think it just kind of egged them on more. It made the animals more invigorated. And hopefully you can't hear that airplane. Hopefully you can't hear that airplane. Hopefully you can't hear that airplane. Because it's kind of loud and it's taking a really long time to get to where it's going. Why is it going so fucking slow? Okay, it's still there. But just don't listen to it. Don't listen to it. Okay. Anyway, the animals, I think it just made them angry that they were like being challenged, and so they all booked it, and it was actually a really good thing that I had made my move a little bit before they did, because I was already kind of in a position away from them, and so all the animals start rushing past me. I kind of like hide under a bench, one of those park benches, and they all just start running past me. I had soaked myself in all the cleaning supplies that were in the janitorial basement, so I didn't smell like a human being. I just smelled like a bunch of cleaning supplies, and it didn't, they didn't trigger that as they were running past me. So once they were, there's one animal posted up. One animal. It's a hippo. And now hippos are pretty dangerous, actually. You know, a lot of people think they're like herbivores or whatever. But they are pretty dangerous. But, you know, they're also pretty reasonable. I've come to find, because I was like, listen, dude, I just need to get out of here. And there's tons of people over there, and they're like trying to do some like Last Crusade type of bullshit. And like there's plenty of people that you'll be able to munch on if you really want to. Just let me go, and you can have all of them. And, you know, he was, like I said, very reasonable, thankfully. And like I said, again, you know, it comes down to luck. You know, I was very lucky that this particular hippo was reasonable. For all I know, you know, maybe hippos aren't on average very reasonable, but this one was. He agreed. I guess he maybe kind of felt a little sad because all the other animals had abandoned him, and they were like, you know, you gotta stay here at this post, and you don't get to enjoy all the fun of running around, you know, the zoo, looking for all the other people. You know, it's kind of mean. They were kind of excluding him, so I feel like he kind of took my, you know, bargain as kind of like an invitation to rejoin the other animals and actually take part in the fun of munching on all the humans. So, I'm just kind of fortunate that all the other animals were kind of mean to him. Although at the same time, I suppose if they hadn't left him there, you know, to guard the gate, then I wouldn't have had that problem in the first place. So it's kind of a give and take. But, you know, it is what it is. If they had left two animals there, then I would have been in a lot of trouble because then they probably would not have been as reasonable. But yeah, just the one hippo. So he took off, and then I made it out of the zoo. I came back here as quickly as possible, but it was an endeavor for sure. It was an endeavor for sure. And like, even on the way here, there was a huge crowd of people had all like gathered around, and they were like, oh my gosh, you made it out, what's going on in there? I've got my family's in there, have you seen a stroller with my child? Oh my god. Yeah, sure. Look, if you want to blame me, you know, if you want to pin on me as being the bad guy of the situation, sure, fine, whatever. But I just want to, you know, point out that, you know, it was the animals that were breaking out of the pen and munching on the humans, okay? It wasn't me, okay? It wasn't me. I feel like, you know, in that type of situation, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Okay, look. So I left the crowd. I just pushed my way through. None of them knew what I had done, so it wasn't that hard. It wasn't like they were really pestering me or treating me badly or anything, but, you know, hopefully that those 50 people that were in the zoo that knew what I did don't make it out, because if they do, then that could get out. But, you know, I don't think they will, because like I said, their plan was really quite terrible. But, you know, it is what it is. It was, you know, so. But that's my crazy story. Yeah, so that's how I got back here. I'm lucky to have made it out. And yeah, so yeah. What do you think? You were laser focused the whole time, right? Laser focused. I told you to be laser focused. This was the craziest story of my entire life. This was the peak of my life. There will never ever be a story or an experience as crazy and as interesting as this one. So if you weren't laser focused the entire time throughout this entire story, then the rest of my life has no hope. There's no hope for the rest of my life, because there's no way I'm ever going to experience anything nearly as cool as this. And if this was not interesting enough to keep your attention the whole time, then